Saturday, January 18th, 2020, Maneco64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start today, I'd like to talk about the advertisement that you see in my videos, a little bit about myself and my background, so you can have an idea in which position I am in. I will try to cut down on the adverts for the videos. Some of you have a problem, some of you might not have a problem. For me, the monetization of my channel is important. I've been running my channel since the end of 2015. My background, of course, is in the City of London. I worked there for over 20 years, from the early 90s until 2012, as a futures and options broker for institutional clients. The firm I work for, they shut down the desk that I worked for in 2012. At the time, I was about 48. It was tough to get a job again in the city. I tried in the beginning, the first few months after I was made redundant in about May 2012. And then I decided to take some of my savings and start a business. I bought into a franchise, a pawnbroking franchise in the UK called Cash Brokers. It was a good business. I set up the business where I used to live on the high street, opened a shop, ran it for 18 months. It was breaking even, but the costs were just too high. So my wife and I decided to shut it down. We were going to have to put more money into the business. I was working 6 days a week. I couldn't employ an assistant, part-time even. I couldn't. The costs were so high, business rates. And then when a business started picking up, you pay more and more fees and taxes, VAT. So I learned the hard way. Yes, I lost quite a bit of my savings, but I didn't borrow any money to start my business. So yeah, that was a big thing, shutting that business, liquidating that business. And my wife and I, we had to sell our house. Didn't have a big mortgage on it. So we were able to sell the house, buy another house where we live now. It's a slightly smaller house. Actually, inside it's almost the same size. Garden is smaller, of course, and it cost less than my old house. So we were able to pay off our mortgage, have some cash left over. And yeah, we moved here in 2015. I kept trying to get jobs in the city, went for interviews, did really well in the interviews, but every time they kept telling me I was too experienced for the post. I think it was a euphemism to say that I was too old for the position. And I tried different things because I still have savings. I've been lucky to have failed that business, to have kind of failed, because it actually didn't fail. It just didn't make money. It was breaking even. I'm lucky that I was able to, how can I say, fix things, move into a really nice house, have no debt. But I had to find a way to earn an income because I don't want to keep dipping into my savings, especially nowadays with the fact that you get nothing in the bank, or if you buy government bonds, you get no interest. And I'm only 55 right now. I was about 50 when we moved here. I had to find things to do. I tried different things, believe me, and you probably don't know this. I've never told you. I tried driving an Uber for 2 months, and that was horrible for me. Very stressful driving around London. And after all the costs, insuring the car and everything, didn't really make much money and is very stressful. So I forgot about that, and then kept trying to find things. And then I thought to myself, as I was watching quite a lot of YouTube channels, one guy that I like watching a lot and I still watch sometimes is GlintPay 4. At the time, he had like about 28,000 subscribers, what I have now. And I even got in contact with him. And I thought, I can do what GlintPay 4 does. I'm not going to talk exactly about things he does. And I thought to myself, what am I good at? What is my expertise? And I look back, it was my expertise in the financial markets, in the City of London, economics, because apart from working in the city as a futures and options broker, I also had a huge interest, and still do, in the monetary system. I started looking into it in 2002 when I first acquired gold as savings. And I thought I could add a lot of value to the public anywhere in the world. So I decided to start my YouTube channel back in November of 2015. Of course, I had no subscribers, very little views, but I just kept going at it. I've changed a little bit the marketing, not the marketing, but the brand of my channel. It wasn't the home of alternative economics and contrarian views right away. That evolved, and I've stuck to it. And one of the things I try to do in the channel is to try to let the general public know how the monetary and financial system works, and at the same time give them like a knowledge, insider knowledge of the financial markets. I was involved in the bond market, and I'm not saying this to be big-headed, but the bond market is considered by many where the smart money is. It's where things happen first in terms of signals about crises that are coming. It's all in the bond market, and that's the market I worked in. Of course, I've been involved in precious metals personally for many years as well, on a personal basis, even though I did trade gold futures and silver futures for some of our clients in the past in the city. So that's my background. So yes, we're comfortable, no debt, some savings, not huge amount of savings, and to be honest, we don't need much of an income to live off every month because we have no debt. But at the same time, of course, the cost of living keeps going up, and so from 0 subscribers, I'm almost up to 28,000. The monetization has worked very well. It took me about 6 months to get up to $100. That's when they paid you back in 2016. You had to reach a threshold. Of course, now I can make videos that do so well that I make $100 on the video. But some of you have said in the comment section that there's too many adverts, that I'm too greedy. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Of course, we all have some greed in ourselves. We want more money, of course. We want to be comfortable and have peace of mind. All I'm trying to do here is try to give you some of my opinions and hope that they add value to you. And if you think they add value to you, you can always also contribute to the channel. I've got PayPal accounts. I've got the Patreon account as well, and you can donate cryptocurrencies. You can go in the Maneco64 Teespring store. So I'm gonna try to cut down on the adverts, but I depend on the adverts for the income. Of course, I could demonetize the channel but I wouldn't be able to probably spend as much time as I do doing my videos. Yes, my videos are like 10 to 15 minutes long, sometimes more, and it actually takes time. A lot of times I plan videos over a few days. I research, so it's not something that I just sit in front of the camera and talk. There is work done. There's also how can I say, editing, publishing, posting it in different like platforms. It takes quite a few hours to do that. So yes, if I demonetize a channel, I probably won't be doing a video every day. I'll probably have to try to do other things to supplement my income. But I have to say, a lot of avenues have opened in the last few years because of my channel. I've had a lot of contacts from business people. I can tell you that in March, actually, I'm going to Holland. I was invited by a magazine from Belgium who's holding economics, financial markets conference in Holland in March, and I've been invited to speak there. They've paid all my costs to travel there, and they're going to pay me to speak. So it does open avenues. I'm working also closely with companies like Gold Investments in London and also GlintPay. So it has opened a lot of avenues, but believe me, the adverts, yes, I get annoyed by adverts as well because I watch other people on YouTube. But sometimes I just start a video and the adverts come on. I just go and get a drink if I'm thirsty and come back and the advert is finished, and then I watch it or I skip it. But I will. I promise that I'll try to cut down on the adverts, but I can't do it completely. So with that, with my background and the question of monetization, I'm going to talk a little bit more about myself. Some of you know I started out in Geneva, Switzerland for a small private bank in the late 80s. In 1992, I was approached by a friend, actually a friend of my sister, who started a desk at Cantor Fitzgerald in London. They were cash treasury brokers. Yes, the treasury market is big in London, US treasury market. And he asked me if I wanted to go work for them in London. So, and I said yes. I decided to come to London from Geneva in 1992. And this is where I've been since. I worked for them, didn't end up working too long for Cantor Fitzgerald. I wasn't completely happy with the setup, and eventually I got a job in 1993 with a futures and options broker. And I liked futures and options especially, and they needed someone with language skills. The advert for the job was for a French speaker, which I do, but they actually hired me to work with an Italian guy called Luigi. So it was Mario and Luigi, and being of Italian descent, speaking also Portuguese, being Brazilian and French, it was very easy for me to get my Italian going. They even paid for me to do a 2-week course at Berlitz. So yeah, Luigi and Mario, we were futures and options brokers for the big Italian funds, big banks. There was a Italian government bond future in London at the Life Exchange, Euro Lira 3-month contract. It was good business. And this is where the story comes in. Luigi used to have some really nice suits. And I asked him, where did you get them? And this was 1994. And he said, well, just up the street at St. Swithin's Lane is my tailor. Go there and have some made. So I went, John Hook and Sons, as you can see here in the photo. So this was 1994, and I got my first tailored suits measured, and they were expensive at the time. They were 300 pounds each. So, but they were a good investment. They lasted many, many years, and they look nice, and they feel very comfortable. They fit you. So what's that got to do with anything? Well, there's an old adage or saying that the ounce of gold during Roman times, ancient Rome, would be able to buy you a very nice toga and some footwear or sandals, which today would be the equivalent of a nice suit and a nice pair of shoes. So I've gone through the numbers a little bit. I've recently been up to see the tailor, John Hook and Sons. When I first got my suit in 1994, it was the real John Hook. He's retired now. His son is running it now. So it's a family business. And the other interesting thing about this tailor, the Hook family has been there since 1977. But it's been a tailor in that spot since 1894. So that's, I find that quite interesting and amazing that it's still there. Hopefully, I talked to Dean, who's the guy running it now, Dean Hook. And I said, is your son interested in taking over? And he said, well, my son is smarter than I am. I don't think he will. He's 15. We'll have to see anyway. But so I wanted to do a little calculation. Oh, and by the way, I am thinking about getting a new suit, and I'll come to that in a minute. It's going to be expensive, but I think it's a good investment, and I'll tell you why. So back in 1994, I spent about 600 pounds for these two suits my first two suits, London suits. And they're not even the most expensive ones. You can get a lot more expensive suits in Savile Row. This is in the city of London. And they're not bad quality, believe me. So yeah, I did a little bit of a research. So my suits, first suits, 1994. So I took the date, 15th of June, 1994, around the middle of the year. At the time, the London PM fix for the ounce of gold in pounds was 252 pounds and 58 pence. So my suit was 300. And for shoes, I don't remember, but I think back then you needed to spend like 100 to 200 pounds for a very nice pair of shoes, English brogues. And yeah, these are all made in England, all these products. They're not outsourced, so you have to keep that in mind. So yeah, if you bought a really top-notch pair of shoes, like 250 pounds, plus the suit is 550. So you can see that gold was undervalued in 1994. I didn't spend that much on shoes. My shoes probably cost 50 to 100 pounds, but you can buy better quality shoes with time, of course. And in the mid 90s, early 2000s, you always wore your suits. They wear out. So I bought myself 2 new suits back in 2002. And I still have them. And believe it or not, I still wear them today. So they're 18 years old. Yes, they're a bit worn out. They might need a little bit of repair. And why did I buy them? Well, the other 2 wore out, and also I probably put on some weight, a little bit of weight, so I needed new ones. But as you can see, I still have them and wear them, and I took a photo here of the label in one of them, and you can see that it was delivered to me on the 20th of August 2002. And yeah, they got more expensive. They were about 600 pounds each. So not cheap. So I bought 2 of them, and no shoes this time, but you can see the PM fix of gold was 201.76. So gold was way undervalued. And we know back in 01 and 2001, 02 was probably the best time to buy gold, so it makes sense. And I haven't even added the shoes. So here's the interesting story. By 2009, unfortunately, I'd put on quite a bit of weight, so I had to buy two more suits. As you can see here, I still got one of them. I still got both of them. The problem is now that they're huge for me. I spoke to Dean and he said we can't really adjust it. We could adjust it, but it won't look right. So let's see how much I paid for them. Well, I paid £800 for each of them. As you can see by the label there, looked at the price of gold on that day, PM fix in London, £600 and 38 pence. So haven't put the shoes in there. So still very undervalued, the ounce of gold, I would say. So now the interesting part. So I went there to the city. I went to see my friend from the city. I'd spoken about him before. We see each other regularly. Went out for lunch. So after lunch, I walked back to the station, Cannon Street Station. And the tailor is on the way to the station. Very convenient. I went to see Dean. He measured me up, and he actually said that my measurements were almost the same as in 1994, which is a good thing health-wise. And of course, he gave me a quote for the new suit, and I was shocked. And I am going to get it. You might think it's very expensive, but don't forget, I'm still wearing the 2002 suits in 2020, so 18 years. I'm going to have to, of course, dip into my savings. I don't earn that much to have a suit like that, but with business picking up, not only the YouTube channel, but like being asked to speak at conferences, meeting different people, I think it's a good investment. So he quoted me 1,380. And he wanted a deposit. First he said, well, pay me 600. And I thought that's what the price was going to be, but that was just the deposit. So yeah, 1,380 now. So you can see how when people say there's no inflation, it's codswallop, as the English would say, or rubbish. So what about the price of gold now? Is it in pounds? Well, on that day, the PM fix was just below 1,200 pounds. So it's catching up a little bit. And if you add the shoes, if I were to, I don't need shoes because I still have some nice shoes that I don't wear as much anymore, so I can still wear them. But if I wanted to buy some nice shoes, it probably would cost me 250, 200 pounds. Even, and if I went for the more expensive ones, it would be like 350 to 500. So you add that up, it's almost 2,000 pounds for, and they're not even the most expensive suits. Granted, the shoes at 500 pounds would be the most expensive, but if we add 350, that's almost 2,000 pounds. So the old adage that the ounce of gold should buy you a good quality suit and footwear is kind of working, but I think it says that gold is still undervalued, especially here in the UK. I do expect suits to be even more expensive in five years' time. I don't think it's a little bit like the Big Mac index, because the suit really is made in England. It's made here. The shoes are made here. So nothing is outsourced. It's not made in China or Vietnam. So you're really getting an idea of how the money has been devalued. And hopefully you enjoyed this. And I didn't bore you too much. So yeah, I think the ounce of gold still has a lot to go, still undervalued, still hasn't really matched what it could do back in ancient Rome. And I think it's going to keep going up. So it's still going to be a good way to protect your savings. So back in 2002, if I took 200 pounds, put it in the bank and left it there till now, I might have 250 with the interest. But if I'd bought an ounce of gold, I could almost buy myself a suit. Yeah, I need a little more, but it would have protected me. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. It helps the channel. Think about subscribing to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. If you're a subscriber, make sure you hit that little notification bell above to be notified of all my new videos. And you can also follow me on Twitter, BitChute, Steemit, and DTube. Billy and I wish you all a great weekend. Take care. Bye.